Hi folks, and welcome to another Saturday morning Samoflange. I'm Matt, and I'm alone again. This time it's a little bit different reason. The guy who I originally had planned to show up this month, I'm just not going to bother with it because it seems like we're just not being able to connect. I may take this solo, who knows? It may just be me now, but I do hope to start having guest host. I may just have to move where I record the podcast so I can get it, because it's just getting harder and harder to do these with a co-host, at least Saturday morning Samoflange, that is. Oddly enough, Prince of the Universe I have no problem with. Another reason is I just got back from a wedding, and on the way back I was so tired. I mean, like, close my eyes tired. And I only get tired when it's in the afternoon, late afternoon, evening, right before sunset, right at sunset. I am just so tired. And I was like, oh man, I'm almost about to fall asleep on the road. Well, that's dangerous with the girls there and my wife already asleep. So I went ahead and said, you know what? I'm going to break my rule. I usually do not drink. When I drink an energy drink, I start about 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I granny sip that sucker till about 6 or 7. Now, granny sipping it, I'm up, I'm good, I go to bed at a good time. But I made a rule that, hey, if it's past, 4 o'clock, no, we can't do it. Or 5 maybe. I think I've had one at 4 or right before 4. But any time around that time, I cut myself off, especially at 5, because if I have one before then, I'm up, like I am right now, because I had this drink at 5:30. But I thought it was an emergency. I was like, well, man, I'm about to fall asleep. Well, so I drank half of it. I was good. But then I was thirsty, so I kept drinking more. And I kept thinking, it's 9:30. Is this going to hurt me? And then when I got in at 10, I just downed the rest of the drink without even thinking. I was like, what did I just do? So here it is, past midnight. I tried to go to bed. I couldn't. My mind's racing. My heart's beating. Oh well, my mistake. But hey, you get rewarded with your own little podcast. Now, this one is a different idea than what I decided to do, because I know I said in my monthly update I was going to do top 5 movies that I like that no one else does. But I cannot rob a good buddy of mine who really loves that subject from being on the podcast. At least I'm going to give him another chance for next month to do it. So I came with another idea on my way back, driving back the 2 hours on the road. I said, I was thinking about the wedding that I just went to. It was my youngest cousin on our side. I'm the oldest on one side of the family, and she was the last one born from our big family, and she just got out of college, and so there's a big difference between us. In fact, for years, shamefully enough, I did not know her real name, because I just called her by her little name, her nickname that she had when she was a kid. And of course, we didn't grow up together, we didn't talk that much, we definitely didn't hang out that much because she was so little. But I always called her by that. Now, when I hang out with her older brothers, who one of them's like one of my favorite cousins ever, and we hung out all the time, and he would always call her by her little nickname, and that's how I knew her. And that's only her family calls her by her nickname. I didn't know this. Everyone else calls her by her real name. And I think it was after me and my wife got married, just a few years later, my wife was saying because they had moved to the same town we live in, and my wife had said, who's that? And I was like, oh, that's Booner. And she went, is that her name? I went, well, no, that's her nickname. She went, what's her real name? I said, to be honest, I don't know. So my wife went to go meet her, and she was in high school back then, and she got mad at me because for a couple of years I just couldn't get her name. And then I remember she was still in high school back then, and I said, hey, I got a confession to make. I said, I've never known your name for years. I'm sorry, but your brothers still call you this. And she went, oh yeah, they're the only ones that call me that. Oh gosh, is that how you? And she laughed. She had a good attitude about it. But of course I remembered her name, and have so for the past at least 8 years. I know for sure, maybe 9. It's been a while since I've called her. I mean, I still call her that, but I do know her name now. But that's just how distant we were. But when they moved up here into the same town, we got to see each other. She hung out a few times. And, made a slight connection in high school. While she was in high school, she moved away to college. And, of course, I didn't see her that much. And but she wanted me to come to the wedding. I wanted to be there. At first, we didn't think I could be there. And then it turns out that I could be there. And I was like, oh, yes, excellent. So I was able to be at her wedding. It was very last minute. I mean, we barely made it. And I remembered where the place she got married, because I'd been there before for another wedding. Oddly enough, well, I'm not going to mention it right now, but I was like, oh, I remember this place. And I was thinking, man, that was a fun wedding. And then I started thinking on the way back, wait. What are the top 5 weddings that I've enjoyed going to, and why? Now, here's the deal. I was talking to this about with the missus, and she was like, well, that's easy, ours. I was like, yeah, I know, but everyone would pick their own wedding. I think everyone would pick their own wedding, because why wouldn't you have fun at your own wedding? It is the best wedding. It is the best wedding. And so I threw that one out. I decided to throw that one out. I was like, no, that's too much. It's easy to say your own wedding, because that, of course, it's your own wedding. So, of course, my number 1 would be my own wedding, but I'm throwing that one out. I'm saying the top 5 other people's weddings. Now, before I say this, there is one that I have to say an honorable mention. It's my good buddy, Tom. I didn't actually go to the wedding. He had his reception months later, I think, for the release of Batman Superman. If you guys know, I despise that movie. I think we even did a podcast on this, not too short, with Tom and another buddy of mine, Mark, arguing about the movie because I hated it. Tom, I think now admits it wasn't that good, but anyway, his reception was so cool because they invited everyone to the movie theater. Bought out the movie theater just for their friends and family. I got to sit right behind him, which was a real honor, because I don't think I'd known him as well as I do now. Now he's one of my best friends, but back then I don't think I knew him as well. But I was very happy to be sitting so close to him. I was like, oh, that's an honor. Sit next to the bride and groom. And while we were watching it, well, one of the cool things is they had cupcakes down below. And they had chocolate cupcakes for Batman, vanilla cupcakes for Superman. They had emblems on each one. I just thought that was really cool. I mean, everything about that reception it's honestly probably one of the best receptions I've ever been to. I just thought it was so unique. I believe there's popcorn too available, and it was just so fun and so unique. But I didn't get to go to the actual wedding, so I couldn't really count that. Another one that was just a joy. It was all decked out. Well, before I mention that, would that have made my top? You know what? I'm gonna bump my number 5 and take my honorable mention. I just last minute just thought about this wedding, and yeah, my next honorable mention is going to be 2 good friends of mine. They got married in Arkansas, and we went up there, and we're thinking, oh man, Arkansas, hick city, we're thinking, oh man, this wedding is going to suck. And me and my buddies went up there, and the bride was, she little freckle-faced girl, cute, you'd see her and going, oh, she's cute, she must be cute. Well, each one of her, she must have been friends with like models or something, because every single one of her bridesmaids and all of her friends were like, 10s. And so it was amazing to us, like, wait a minute, what is going on here? Because I was looking around the wedding party, I said, do you guys notice that there is nothing but just like models walking around? And they're like, yeah. And so we asked our buddy who was getting married, I said, hey, how does she know? He said, oh, these are just some of her friends. I was like, some of her friends? And we didn't want to say anything. We're like, and this is the one you chose to marry? I mean, to be honest, she's a great girl. I like her a lot. And but the thing is, though, I was like, dang, there is a lot of good. And so we were laughing because we were talking about how, the jokes people make about, the jokes people make about people down south in general, like, oh man, they're going to have enough teeth for this wedding. Oh boy, a bunch of hillbillies here. And we were so wrong. And I remember the whole lot of us, there were 4 of us that went up there for his wedding. We just carpooled up there. And I remember one friend of mine, Stuart, was just laughing the entire time at, how wrong we were. And of course, dancing with the girls and everything. And we were all just laughing. We were like, I cannot believe we were so wrong. And we just started laughing about it. So that's more of an honorable mention. But weddings that I would be okay with going back again, and revisiting them. I guess that's kind of how I made this list here. So my new number 5 is a good old friend of mine, Bill. He was one of my childhood friends growing up. We were best friends back in the day, and of course we moved away. And this is back before email was even around, really. We pen palled a little bit. We never really emailed. It was basically a pen pal. And then when email came around, I don't think we ever got his email. We just pen palled for a little while, and then we just kind of lost touch. Well, of course, social media wasn't even that big a deal back then. But email was around and stuff like that. Well, my mom, you'll find out your mom keeps up with all of your childhood friends. I mean, my mom still keeps up with my first grade teacher, for crying out loud. And she kept up with, she and Miss Jackson were neighbors. And so Miss Jackson always wrote my mom. And Miss Jackson wrote my mom and said, hey, Bill's getting married. And I just want to send you all this invitation. Don't know if you can make it. It's down in New Orleans. I know you are in Louisiana. But if you can, we'd love to see you. And they couldn't, but then she told me about it, and I was like, she said, hey, do you know Bill's getting married? I was like, shut up, really? She's like, yeah, New Orleans. Well, I'd never been to New Orleans. And I was like, well, maybe this is the time for me to go to New Orleans finally. And my mom was like, oh, yeah, definitely you should go. So I was like, that would be fun. And so I took the invitation. I didn't have his number or any information back then. I just said, well, I just know where the wedding's going to be. So I drove down there, I remember. And when I got there, I had to stop at Cafe Du Monde. You always have to stop there for the beignets, which, by the way, there's a long line, but it moved pretty fast, and the beignets are pretty fantastic. I think I've only been to New Orleans twice in my entire life now that I think about it. Megan and I, one of our first Comic-Con together was in New Orleans, and that was the first and last time, because personally, I don't like New Orleans. I hate it. I think the traffic's bad. I think the roads are a disaster. They're a mess, especially downtown. I will never be caught dead there for a Mardi Gras ever in my entire life. If I am there for a Mardi Gras, know this. Someone has my kids held ransom, and that's the only way I could get them back, because that's the only way I'm going down to New Orleans ever. Much more, for Mardi Gras at least. I mean, maybe if they have my wife tied up, then I have to go to New Orleans again. Maybe I do it then. But I do not like that town. I'm sorry. I know it's very cultured. I know there's a lot of great restaurants. And I know my former co-host, Benjamin, would have a cow over me saying that, because he absolutely loves New Orleans. It's one of his favorite towns in the world. We're definitely in the country. The man's traveled the country for a long time, and New Orleans by far is like his favorite city. It's so cultured and everything, and I have no doubt about that. But any town where traffic's bad or roads, I'm all about the infrastructure, man, and the infrastructure there just sucks. I'm just telling you that. Should I give it another fair shot? Maybe, but no, I don't want to. But anyway, so I went down there and I found his place, and I went to the wedding. Well, he didn't know me. I didn't know anyone there. And so it was a weird wedding. I can't remember what denomination he is, but they got up and dismissed them by row, where the bride and groom shook everyone's hand, and they would go to one, his side, then the bride's side, then his side, then the bride's side, and everyone would be exit out of the building, and then they could go to the reception. But you first had to meet the bride and groom. I guess it was better than just standing outside the church. I don't know. I'd never seen this done before, and so when it came to me, I was like, man, I'm embarrassed. This is not how I wanted it to go down. So I said, hi. And they're looking at me because he doesn't recognize me at first. I went, hi. I said, look, Bill. I said, look, I know you don't remember me, but my name is Matt Wilkins. And he just paused and went, shut up, right there in the church hall, and just grabbed me for a minute. He was like, oh, my God. He's like, and he tells his wife, he said, this is one of my old childhood friends. He's like, oh, my gosh. He said, he said, and he knew exactly why I was there. He said, so you got the invitation that Mom sent? I said, yeah, my mom got it, and they couldn't go, but I wanted to come and say congratulations. I just hadn't seen you. And he was just like, oh my gosh, he said, I haven't seen you in years. And so it's like, we're talking, but you're not supposed to sit. You're supposed to say hello and move on. But we just couldn't stop talking. And I was like, well, look, I don't want to hold up your line. I'll come talk to you later. He's like, please, are you coming to the reception? And I wasn't going to go to the reception, because I just wasn't feeling, I wasn't feeling like I was liking New Orleans already. I was like, yeah, I'll come, because he asked me to be there. And so when we got there, it was fun. I got to see his sister, who I hadn't seen in years, his older sister, and then his mom, which was really good. His dad had already passed away by that time, but got to see his family and everything, and then got to see him. We exchanged phone numbers immediately, and I still keep in touch with him from time to time. He's a good guy. And but I remember his wedding was it was in this immaculate ballroom. I mean, with huge chandeliers, people, butlers everywhere. I don't know what you call them, attendees or whatever, with silver serving trays. I mean, one of the swankiest weddings I had ever witnessed. I mean, they had a live orchestra playing music. I mean, it's those weddings you see in those Hollywood movies. And you're thinking, who has those weddings except for celebrities? No, man, this guy did. I mean, it was his wife, wife's family who foot the bill, but man, did they foot the bill. That was one of the most elaborate weddings. I think it still is the most elaborate wedding I've ever been to. So that was really cool. I would like to go to that one again. That would have been fun. So anyway, my number 4 is another one that I had a good time at. It was my first, I think it was a Dutch wedding. I mean, a true Dutch wedding. Now, this took place in Canada. One of the few times I went up there. I went to go visit my buddy in Toronto. Actually, didn't live in Toronto. He lives outside Toronto, London. London, Canada, believe me. I've been to London, but London, Canada. I've been to London, Windsor, Toronto, and a few other places outside Toronto. I think there's only 3 places I've been in Canada. But that was my first trip up to Canada. He and I were always good buddies, and he wanted me in the wedding. I was like, dude, I'm totally there. Totally go to Canada with you. I think I'd already been to Windsor, though. I think this wasn't my first trip, now that I think about it, because I think he and I hung out in Windsor one night. I can't remember. I think that was what it was. But then, we'd been friends for a while. We'd met at a summer camp, and we were tight. And so went up there to his wedding, and he and his wife Sam were really, really awesome. And he had one of the most fun weddings. Even though I was so tired at the end of the night, I was so tired when I boarded the plane. We were all about to fall asleep. But anyway, let me explain what happened. So this wedding started at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they have the wedding. Awesome. So it goes about an hour, because they have just a long thing to do. So at 3 o'clock, they sit outside the church. Well, from 3 to 4 or whatever, or 4:30 or something, I think, they greet each and every attendant who come out of church, because sometimes they can't make it to the reception, so they want to greet everyone at the church. So that's where you can sit there and talk to them for like 5 to 10 minutes or something, or I elaborate, like 1 to 5 minutes or whatever. And that's what most people were doing. They were just chit-chatting with them just for a few minutes each. Well, that thing, never mind, I think that thing went 2 hours now that I think about it. I think that's what it was, because it was, no. It was about an hour and a half. I remember that's what it was. But I was like, oh my gosh, it's taking forever. So at 4:30, there was time to take pictures, like about time. But there's so many family members there, that takes us to about 6 o'clock. I said, is there going to be anyone at the reception? They're like, oh yeah, they're already there. They're probably dancing and eating. I was like, what do you mean? Well, they're snacking right now. I was like, what? And so we go there at 6:30 by the time we get there. And everyone's there. Everyone. It didn't seem like anyone left. From the church, they just went straight there. And so we're all seated at tables. Well, they've been snacking. Well, now it's time for the dinner to come out. Yeah, dinner. So dinner comes out. And it's like, okay, so we're going to get this on, right? And this is where we're going to play a few games first. So first off, they had speeches. And this is about from 6:30 to 7:30. So 7:30 to about 8, everyone got up and gave speeches. After that, the bride and groom gave a speech. And then it was time for games. That's right, games. The bride and groom played a game in front of everyone where they had to hold up each other's shoe. They had to stand back to back, and they said, who is most likely to blank, and then both hold up either one of her shoes or one of his shoes. They each had one of each. And sometimes they say the opposite. Sometimes they'd say, yeah, it's me, or yeah, it's her. She would be the one most likely to do this. And it was actually pretty fun and very ingenious. And so after playing that game, then they had a game for everyone else to play. They said, hey, by the way, look under your chair. There, if you have this gold sticker underneath there, you get to take the plant and the picture that's in the middle of the table, because they had a picture of them holding up different numbers. If they held up a number, that was your table number. I actually I didn't mean to, but I sat in the right chair and I won. But I think he told me to sit there, though. He said, you sit here, because I think he wanted me to have a picture of them, which I still have today. And I have I don't have my little planet. I didn't take it. I gave it to someone else, because I couldn't take it home. But I took the picture. I still have it today, and I love it. But anyway, so I thought that was pretty fun. We all played games. So that went on. It's about 8:30 now, so you're like, oh, it was about 9 o'clock now or whatever. I'm like, okay, so now it's time. No. Now it's time to do the bouquet, the cake, and stuff like that, and then have dessert. It's like, okay, so they do all that. Well, then it's time to dance. Okay, great. And so it's getting 10:30 or something, and I'm like, this is amazing. And I remember telling one of my buddies, I said, I cannot believe people are still here. It's 10:30 at night. I said, man, where I'm from at 10:30, everyone starts leaving. You got to wrap up this before 10. Like the last wedding I was DJing just a few weeks ago. I think at 9:30 people, because the bride told me they were going to party till 10 o'clock and then leave. Well, at 9:30 people just started booking, and it was getting skeleton crew in there. She went, hey, she's like, we're going at 9:45. She went, we're going now, because it seemed like everyone was leaving except for the family. I said, yeah, you can't stay that late. You got to cut it off at like 8 o'clock's perfect because everyone's still around. But 9 o'clock, some people have left, but you still got a good business. But after 9, they're thinking, are they going to just party all night? Because we're leaving, People are old. They got kids. They can't do that. I understand that. But anyway, I was telling them, look, the kids are still up. Everyone's here. And they said, well, yeah, they're waiting for the midnight buffet. I said, the what? He said, there's going to be a midnight buffet. I went, wait, after they leave? He went, oh, no, we're not done yet. And sure enough, we party for it's midnight now. And out comes the midnight buffet. It's mainly sandwiches and stuff like that, but I was like, wait a minute, what? And people were getting plates again. I was like, so when does this end? Answer, 2 a.m. So we went from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. It was a 12-hour wedding. And then I had to clean up. And so I all pitched in, cleaned up. It was about 3:30 or 4 by the time I finally got to bed. I had to wake up just 2 hours later to get to my plane. We were all dying. We were so tired. And 2 of my friends were driving back because they lived in Detroit, but they decided to drop me off. But even they were falling asleep. We were all falling asleep, we were barely just trying to stay awake to get the airport. And this is before 9/11, so airport security was very lax, so I was able to get on the plane really quick and make it there in a little amount of time. But even though it was a super long wedding, I super enjoyed that. It was great. Sadly, I don't talk to my buddy anymore. I know he still talks to some of my Detroit friends. And I know he travels into the U.S. a little bit here and there. He's kind of a fun story about this guy. He made it into a multimillionaire now. He made some programming for the police department up there. And, he worked for the police department and then sold it to the police department. It's really awesome. So it's good for him, and I know he's super busy now. In fact, my Detroit friends say they talk to him every once in a while, but he's kind of gotten too busy because he's kind of course, running a multi-million-dollar company. But I'm super happy for him all the same. He's a super nice guy. I don't have his contact information anymore, but I could get it, I guess, if I wanted to. But, I feel like, oh, hey, man, now that you made it big, remember me? I don't want to be that guy. I do want to wish him the best, though, so I don't know, maybe I should reach out and contact him again. But anyway, his wedding was really fun. I'd love to do that one again. Even though it was super long, I was super tired afterwards. Okay, my number 3. These last 3 have to deal with family, oddly enough. I didn't plan it this way, but, the number 1 I did. My number 3 was my cousin Thomas. I would love to have that man on my podcast someday. He is absolutely hilarious, and we've always gotten along really well growing up. Well, he married a girl that it was so weird. I was totally against this girl. I think a lot of people were. And then once you got to know her, like I didn't know her that well, to be honest. I think she moved downstairs, an apartment downstairs from me. And then we became good friends. Like, you know what? This girl's pretty cool. I get it. But I didn't really know her that well, I guess. And so, because when they were dating, I was like, I don't know about this. And everyone was saying the same thing too. And then if you got to know her, then you'd like her. And when they got engaged, it's like, ooh, I don't know, man. And then I told him, I said, I don't know about her, man. And then, when I got to hang out with her, I was like, oh, no, she's awesome. And we were good friends. So by the time the wedding came around, I was totally on board for this. Not a good thing because I was in the wedding. And in the wedding, the thing that made it so daggone fun, the reception was a lot of fun. But the thing that made it really fun was this is the wedding that I got to saw someone, one of the groomsmen, pass out because he locked his legs. You're never supposed to lock your legs. And he passed out during the wedding. Well, that person happened to be my little brother. It was even better because I got to see it happen right there. Because during the wedding, he had locked his legs, and he was a goofball even back then. And I remember he bumped me. He leaned forward and bumped me, and I pushed him back. I was like, stop it. Because I thought he was being goofy because he had this big smile on his face. Well, the thing is, He had passed out at that moment. He was leaning forward because he was blacking out. And I pushed him back. I was like, dude, stop. Like, I thought he was being goofy with me, like hanging on me for a minute during the wedding rehearsal. And we were up at the top, I remember. We were up at the top tier because I think I was the best man. And I pushed him, and I was like, dude, stop, like, seriously. And I saw him lean over and just kind of smile at me and then fall backwards. I mean, just rock solid, hit the ground. Never mind, he didn't bump me. He bumped the other guy. Never mind, because I can see it now. He was on the downstairs. I was on the upstairs. There's a platform. He was below the platform. So I saw him bump into someone, but I was like, why is he being a goofball during the wedding? That's what I said to him. He didn't bump me. He bumped someone else. I misremembered. But I remember going, Caleb, stop, I thought he was trying to goof off during the wedding. But the dude was passing out, so he just looks at me, had this big grin on his face, and he just falls flat backwards. I mean, he doesn't even catch himself. It's like, what is he doing? And then I realized the dude just passed out. And so what happens, my brother was down there, and my brother got him and drug him over, and he and another groomsman just kind of lifted him up and put him, I think my uncle came out and got him, and put him out down on the pew that was right in front. And they just laid him down there, and my dad, who's doing the sermon, my dad who's doing the wedding, he didn't even blink. The dad didn't even move. Dad just let Caleb pass out. He paused, let him pick up Caleb, and then he went on. Well, then I couldn't stop laughing. That was tickling me. And during the vows, and they didn't get a video of this. They got pictures. They had someone taking pictures. But the funny thing is, you see these pictures of all of us. Then it's all of us minus Caleb. All of us minus Caleb. And then my brother wakes up during, like, we're singing a hymn. My brother wakes up. He gets in line like nothing ever happened, starts singing again. Well, that just got me tickled. And I was like, dude, this dude's really going to act like nothing happened? And so the rest of the pictures, if you see them, and I can't get my cousin, oh man, if I would have thought about this ahead of time, I would have asked for those pictures so you could see my face. Well, you wouldn't see my face because I turn around, I've got my hands buried in my face, I've got the brochure of the wedding covering my face because I cannot stop laughing. I know I'm not supposed to. My mom is mad because I'm cracking up during the wedding, during the vows. And the best picture was the bride and groom present, everyone applauds, they're stepping down. As they're stepping down the steps to exit, you see a picture of me and my dad look at each other. And then the next picture is us both doubled over in laughter. Because my dad thought it was funny too, but the dude didn't crack. The man didn't crack the entire time. Did the whole wedding with a straight face, and then looked at me, and I started laughing. He started laughing too, and it was the best thing. And you think, cause my mom was mad, but you think the bride and groom would be upset by that, right? Because he kind of took away, this was their time, this is their moment, and he kind of spoiled it by passing out and making it comical for everyone. And the bride thanked my brother. Because she said, I was so nervous. She said, I thought I was going to pass out. And then when he passed out, I was like, oh, good. That put the pressure off of me. Then I knew people weren't thinking about me or looking at me the whole time. I mean, she was very thankful for that. But that was just one of my favorite. I just remember that moment. And during the wedding, it was just so much fun. So that's my number 3. Okay. My number 2, my brother, Jeremy. Now, I've had him on Prince of the Universe before, whenever he pitches books and everything. His wedding was a lot of fun. It was the first wedding in the family. That's probably why it's a little bit special. Also, it was my first time up in Idaho. It was not so special. It was freaking freezing. It was around Thanksgiving weekend, I remember, and I was ticked off because I hate the cold weather. But we had a good time. Like I said, our first time up there, I remember this happened the night before the wedding. The front porch of the house we were staying in had frosted over. And when I mean frost, there was like a thin sheet of ice on there. Well, my dad was the first one to set foot on that porch. Oh man, that dude did a nice ice capade right there, just slipping and sliding I don't think he fell, but I think he lost his footing. It was like, boop, 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 boop. It looked like comical. He's like, his legs are shuffling and everything, and then he finally caught the wall or something and stopped, and we were laughing so hard at that because, like, thanks for testing out the ice there, Dad. But there were so many fun things that we did at that wedding. My brother got married up in Idaho too, but he got married in the summer, and that was a fun wedding too, but not as memorable as my brot's, I guess, because that was just the first wedding. We're like, wow, one of us is finally getting married. It was so weird. It was so weird that it was Jeremy too. Because I know my mom was like, oh man, he's going to be the last one to get married. and he was the first actually by a long shot. He was the first, beat me by several years. But anyway, so he gets married, and dude, it's the funniest thing. The dude is he has his wedding, and there is a hilarious speech by, oh no, that was the night before. Never mind, so that can't count. The night before, I'm not counting the rehearsal dinner. The rehearsal dinner, there was a hilarious speech made by one of the best men that my mom and dad did not like. It was a little crude in a little way, but it was really funny. And there was a lot of crude stuff that went on, because I can't remember. Cause my brother and I, for the only time, we were going to sing this at every, I remember we wanted to make a tradition, and I think we stopped after Bray's wedding, but there's a song we would sing. It was from a deleted track, not deleted track, but a secret track off of an album. Going Half on a Baby. I cannot remember, but it was the opera version. But we would listen to that and laugh so hard. And I said, dude, we're totally singing this at our wedding. So we sung it the first two, but it never got sung at mine. I don't think it did. I'll have to ask my brother. But I know it didn't get sung at my little brother's or little sister's wedding. But it was going to be a tradition that we only did for like the first two weddings. But we sang that there. The reception was just so great. I'll be honest, our tuxes, the groomsmen's tuxes, they look really nice. I can't remember. I remember they had I remember the pattern on it. I don't know what the pattern's called, but our tuxes look really nice. And to be honest, it was freaking freezing. I remember we dolled up his car, like really messed it up, and my dad was ticked off because it was a rent-a-car. He said, "You're cleaning that tonight." So after the wedding, my brother and I went out to go clean the car in the middle of a winter in Idaho. And I'm sitting there spraying the car down. As I spray the car down, the water freezes on the windshield. I'm like, where are we? What type of place are we? What kind of a forsaken place are we at? And I remember it took us forever to clean that car off because it kept icing over, and we had to chip it off. And my brother's laughing. He's like, well, man, this is how winters are up here. I said, winters suck here. And I remember I made this big rant in an email to a buddy of mine who lived there. And I remember he put it on his blog, and it got passed around to a few other blogs. Blogs was before social media. There were blogs. But I remember it got a lot of hits and it got a lot of comments back in the day because everyone thought it was so funny. He had to edit it because I was kind of crude a while, but I was not happy about how cold it was, and I let him have it. And I was I had a cold coming back, and I was just mad. And so I remember I wrote the email while on the plane or something. No, I wouldn't have had a laptop back then. No, I think I may have had a laptop, but I didn't send it, of course, because you needed a wired connection back then. But anyway, I sent it the moment I got back, and I was so mad. He laughed. He still talks about that letter. That is one of his favorite moments with me. He said he's never seen me that funny. I don't remember what the letter said anymore, but I'd be honest, I'd go back there and visit again because I remember the reception being fun. Like I said, first wedding in the family. That was kind of cool. All right, so number one, this is what started the entire podcast idea, because the wedding that I just went to, the place where it was held was my number. I thought about it. I was like, oh, wow, I remember this wedding. It was the best wedding. And I haven't told my cousin yet, but she'll be very happy to know that she still leads in best wedding ever. The wedding itself was fine. I remember the guy that she married, really good guy, big into choir and music. And, of course, he made sure the music was perfect for he and his wife. But my cousin at the reception, and this is where you have most of the fun, right, at the reception. At the reception, man, they had so many unique ideas. Unique back then. I'm sure other people have done this before, but I'd never seen any of this before. Instead, they didn't like cake. Neither of them liked cake. And they said, cake's boring. Let's do pies. And they had several different pies. Cherry, apple, strawberry, banana, blueberry. They had every pie you could think of. I don't know if they had pumpkin, though, but I know they had pecan. I know they had sweet potato. But I can't remember if they had pumpkin pie. They may have. But they had just tons of pies. And you could choose from basically any pie. Now, to be honest, that was pretty cool because I love pie too. And I was like, yeah, you can get pie. But on top of that, they had an ice cream bar. That's right. You scooped ice cream into a bowl and then put your toppings on it. Again, super smart. Plus, the party itself, the dancing, the music was so much fun. And we had the absolute craziest time at that wedding. It was so much. I still talk about that. Every time I see him, I was like, you know what? Y'all had the best wedding. I can't wait to tell her tomorrow if I see her. I'm just going to tell her, I say, look, I was thinking about this, made a podcast. You got the best wedding. It was the best. There's a lot of honorable mentions that I thought about, but it didn't happen at the wedding or during the wedding. My buddy Bruce from Prince of the Universe, he had a wedding that was infamous only because back in the day, probably the last person I really despise. I get along with anyone, but back then I used to hate people like this and that, and there was one girl, we just couldn't stand each other, and I had let her have it at the rehearsal dinner. I mean, in front of everyone. It was not cool. I shouldn't have done it, but she was just snooty and everything, and I just let her have it. I let her know, because we were walking down the aisle together, and they didn't tell her to the end. Well, they had told me, and I was not happy about it, and then she was not happy about it either, but she kind of made some snide comment, so I just let her have it right there in front of everyone. And that was pretty brutal. I said, you know what? You know what we are. We're a joke, right? They put us together because they knew it'd be funny, because no one likes us. I said, the awful thing is that you don't realize that you're a joke. I realize I'm a joke. I realize they're going to be laughing at us. I said, but you don't. And that's sad and pathetic. I mean, I remember I just tore her up. And afterwards, I remember she had, oh man, I think I made her cry, and she left and everything. And I didn't feel bad at all. I slept well that night. Guys did not like her. And I remember I'd never had a pastor come up to me and say, do not screw up this wedding. I was like, I'm not going to screw up the wedding. And I told my buddy, I said, I'm sorry. He's like, no, I probably shouldn't have put y'all together and everything. I knew something like that would happen. But anyway, afterwards, at the wedding, I decided, I was like, you know what, that was mean. I went up to apologize to her. I said, look, I want to just bury the hatchet. She went, me too. And I went, okay, well, I remember we went out to eat afterwards. This is one of Bruce's favorite stories, by the way. We went out to eat after the wedding and everything, like a day or so later. Kind of wanted to show her that I wasn't going to say that we're cool again and then never talk to her again. I was like, no, we'll go out to eat, we'll hang out. And so we did. She ordered the most expensive thing on the menu. That's cool. I'm still all right with that. And but we did have a good time, and we're still friends today. We're actually, good. I mean, she last time she came in, one of the few people she actually got to see was me, and I was really happy that she made the time to say hello. So we are friends. I'm glad that we kind of buried the hatchet. And after that, I was like, you know what? Why? And I remember I was in college or fresh out of college. I was like, why am I still holding grudges? That's dumb. I was like, why do I care anymore? So we did away with holding grudges and stuff like that after that. And kind of proud of that moment. But at the same time, it was really funny because I remember that evening, after we went out, that evening, someone came over to my house and went, Matt, you won't believe this. There's a dude that Fran's dating that looks just like you. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah. And he said, and he named the restaurant. I was like, dude, and that was the restaurant I was at with her. And he went, no, dude. He said, you got to understand this. He said, so I followed them. He said, the dude drives a car just like yours. And he was laughing. And he really didn't know it was me. That's how unbelievable it was that we would be together. Well, then I looked at my buddy and I said, was he wearing a red polo shirt? And my buddy's mouth dropped open. He went, you saw him too? He still didn't believe it was me, because he said there's no way Matt would be within 20 yards of her on purpose, because he knew that everyone knew that back in the day we were the bitterest of foes, and that we would even sit down at the same table would be unthinkable. So unthinkable that when I even named what I was wearing, he thought I had seen this guy too. He said, but he looks just like you. I was like, yeah, doofus, because he's me. And he just could not believe it. I mean, he was just dumbstruck when I told him that. He's like, what? And then, of course, he went off and told everyone, and everyone came by my apartment and wanted me to tell the story. In fact, when Bruce got back, he called me up and said, I heard a rumor. I was like, yes. He went, get over here now. Rachel wants to hear the story. So I had to go and tell him the story, and they loved that. They still love that story. They think it's hilarious. But anyway, so there it is. There's my top 5 weddings that I've been to that I really enjoyed it. Hey, did you have a wedding that you enjoyed? What was it and why did you enjoy it so much? Let me know, and I will talk to you next time on Saturday Morning Samoflange.